Hello everyone. I haven't made a video in a little bit. Actually, I just made a video. It was 19 minutes long. I don't want it to be that long, so I'm trying to truncate it a little bit. I just read an article recommended by Dr. Peter Kwasniewski, Crisis Magazine, written by Charles Coulombe. Great guy. Had the privilege of meeting him several times, lunch a couple times with a bunch of the other Una Voce folks, many years ago. So anyway, the commentary has to do with recent goings-on related to the Latin Mass. Apparently, the local bishops in Orange and Los Angeles have been called in to try to answer for why they have not fully implemented Traditionis Custodes. If you read Traditionis Custodes, it's pretty clear what the letter and the spirit of that letter, that motu proprio, is about. The intention is to get rid of the traditional Latin Mass. There's just no two ways about it. Just look at the letter itself and the explanation and the follow-up stuff, all those things. It's pretty clear what Francis wanted to do, right? Because eventually there's a line in there that says, whatever accommodations you're making, to be clear, the eventual goal is for the return to the Roman Rite, which seems to imply and indicate, it doesn't seem, it's implying, or it's indicating explicitly that it even says this, the normative form of the Roman Rite is the Novus Ordo, is the what was once called the ordinary form. And even using that terminology, the ordinary form, it's the ordinary form. The extraordinary form is the exception to the rule. And that was Benedict's terminology. So what I wanted to sort of chime in on is the promotion of the Society of St. Pius X. And when TC first came out, I was doing a lot of posts and supporting things that John Salza was writing about and speaking about and giving interviews about. And I had a little bit of interaction with Charles Coulombe as well. I don't think in those days he was explicitly supporting the Society of St. Pius X, but he was certainly sort of defending the option because of the crisis, because of the confusion, that it's not beyond the realm of options, possibilities to go to the Society of St. Pius X. Well, okay, let me just make that clear. From my view, you know, anyone who goes to the Society of St. Pius X, I just hope that they're informed, they have a well-formed conscience somehow. They've looked at all the arguments. They looked at, you know, both sides of the issue, or whatever, how many sides of the issue there are. They've looked at John Salza's arguments, or whoever it is that's on the sort of anti-society side of it. Bishop Burke being at least the one prelate that I'm aware of that is very sort of vehemently opposed to the Society of St. Pius X, clearly, from his view, views them as schismatics. So I'm not going to judge personally, right? I just leave your situation to the mercy of God, right? That you are, you know, making a well-formed, you know, decision, or informed decision. But for me, if you were to ask me, the reasons why I wouldn't get a society is because there's no end. In my view, there's no end to, I believe in their schism, so I would say there's no end to their schism. If there was ever a time for the society to reconcile, it would have been right after Summorum Pontificum, right after the lifting of excommunication. So the Summorum Pontificum was 2007, the lifting of excommunications was, I believe, 2010. and that was part of the process, right? The lifting of the excommunications was so that once the doctrinal issues were ironed out or whatever it is, they are then ready to be to return to communion with Rome. But first, the excommunications need to be lifted. Well, the problem is they never did reconcile, right? And so if you look at the letter of the lifting of the excommunications, Benedict XVI made it pretty clear they still did not have, as society, still did not have a valid ministry. They didn't have an active ministry in the church. They are still suspended, right? The only thing that's changed since then is that Francis gave them the faculties to hear confessions, and they can offer nuptial masses with the permission of the local bishop. Now, are they going to still do those nuptial masses, regardless if they get that approval from the local bishop? Yeah, they will. They still do. So why is that even an argument in support of the Society of St. Pius X? Regardless of what the views of Rome are, or what accommodations they've made or will make or whatever it is, society will be business as usual as it has been since the 70s. Why? Because their underlying reason for existence, if you're to look at all their materials, and these are the early materials, I haven't really read a lot of their more up-to-date stuff, but their whole reason for existence and what justifies why they do what they do is the principle of epikeia, which is sort of dispensation from the normal rules or canon laws or whatever because of the state of emergency or state of crisis, right? It's an ethical principle in general where you're not required to follow the prescribed law because of either an adherence to a higher law, which canon law, the highest law of the church, is the salvation of souls. I mean, you take your pick of which argument the society uses. It doesn't matter what the Vatican or the Rome says, and it hasn't mattered since the 70s. They will still keep doing what they're doing. Okay, so once you cross that threshold, once you take that escape hatch, let's say tomorrow Francis says, zip, no more. Not going to play these games anymore. No more Latin Mass at all, anywhere. Fraternity, institute, no one. No one in communion with Rome will have the Latin Mass any longer. And the traditionalists who have kept sort of the society in their back pocket as an escape hatch, they're going to flee to the society. Now, even if we get another Benedict XVI type, which seems to be highly unlikely, to be the next pope or the next 2 popes from now, if they didn't reconcile during the time of Benedict, does anybody have any confidence they'll ever reconcile? So my concern is if they didn't reconcile already when the doors were wide open, free reign for the Latin Mass for anybody. If there wasn't a better time, if there was a good time to come back, it would have been in those days of Benedict XVI, and they didn't. So I don't think they're going to come back. If you go cross that threshold, you will be forever in their schism. I believe they're in a schism, so I'll just say you'll be forever in their schism because they're never going to come back. They're just not. Because they weren't even close. So the solution, what's the solution? So the Society of St. Pius X has a book, State of Vacantism, a false solution to a real problem. And really early on after TC, when people were trying to flee to the society, I would say Society of St. Pius X, a false solution to a real problem. There is a real problem, a real crisis in the church. The only way to fix it is to stay in the church. You got to fix it in the church. Because what are you going to fix when you go to the Society of St. Pius X? There's nothing to fix over there. From your perspective, you're just going to you're going to have your full liturgical life. You're going to have community, parish life. You're going to have all the sacraments. You're going to have all the smells and bells that you think you need, except for the one thing you need, which is full communion to the See of Peter through your local bishop. And they don't have that unity, in my view. I'm not going to debate it. I've already done debating it. So, that kind of mentality, you know, the Altmans, all these folks that are reacting to Francis, it's a slippery slope. It's gonna get there. I mean, even Father Cicada said that all traditionalists are sedevacantists. They just don't know it yet. And there's got to be some ring of truth to that, because there is that tendency when push comes to shove, slowly but surely, conservatives become more conservative. Conservatives become what used to be called indult traditionalists. Indult traditionalists start going to society, and then they start being open to independence, and then they start flirting with sedevacantism, and then they become sedevacantists, and then some of them even go so far as to say not even the sedevacantist clergy are validly ordained, so you become a home aloner, stay-at-home, whatever, traditionalist reading your Roman Missal 1962 or 1945 or whatever it is that you're reading. At home, no Mass, no sacraments, because you're a recusant. You're a Catholic in the times of the Protestant Reformation in England, so you didn't have the Mass. So you just prayed whatever, the rosary at home. Is this the Catholic Church? Is this the Catholic faith that hell would not prevail against? Where the Mass would be in perpetuity from the rising of the sun to its setting, a perfect offering shall be made. Is that the Catholic Church? The Society of St. Pius X? Is that where you're going to find the remnants of the Catholic Church? When will it ever become the Catholic Church again? If Rome has been taken over by non-Catholics, heretics, schismat, whatever you want to call them, that they're the ones in schism. They have the churches, but we have the faith. That's what Lefebvre said at some point. It becomes a sort of Protestant ecclesiology. It becomes the faith is the people. The people have the faith. It's not the institution any longer, or the churches. It's the loose association of true believers, wherever you find them. Those who, you know, stick to the Catechism of Trent and the Baltimore Catechism and read all the old stuff. You can do all that stuff, but still stick with Rome. Still stick with Peter. There's only one ship. There's only one bark. There's only one ark of salvation, outside of which there's no salvation. Right? So if you were on Noah's Day, the only way you're going to survive is you're going to stay on that boat. You're not on this little SSPX dinghy, you know, with some kind of rope tied to the back of the ark. It doesn't work that way. There's only one ship, one church, one faith. All right? God bless you. Bye.